Merry Meet, Hotep. I wanted to do this video for a long time, and I've only just really got round to it. Sitting before my altar today. It is towards the end of May now, but still very much in the Beltane season. And so I've been thinking a lot about Hathor and Egypt. As the sun is coming out, I'm really feeling memories of Egypt rising again. It happens to me every year whenever it gets remotely warm over here in the UK. And so thinking about Hathor, the goddess of love, music, joy, every beautiful thing. It's a bit dark with the light behind her here. I was thinking about the tools of Hathorian cult, and when you research the tools of Hathorian cult, they're very beautiful, naturally, because she's a goddess of everything beautiful. So you will see things like the Sistrum rattle and the Menat necklace, mirrors dedicated to Hathor. It's just really beautiful tools, and seeing the priestesses in procession shaking their Sistra, they're just gorgeous representations in the ancient reliefs. So I wanted to share with you the tools that I have accumulated. Now this took me quite some time. If you remember, when I first started making videos, I was perhaps about about 15, I think, about 15, 16. I'm now 25, and I've been practicing Egyptian paganism the whole time, and so it takes some time to build up the tools. And you don't really have to, as always, you really don't have to, but I'm not going to kid myself in thinking that people won't. You know, we really enjoy these things, and I very much enjoy having my tools for Hathor. Historically, these tools aren't just used for Hathor, they're used for many different Egyptian gods and goddesses, but you'll see why they're primarily associated with Hathor. So I've got a collection here. I'm going to start with the Sistrum rattle. So this is my Sistrum. It has Hathor's face on it, and I actually bought this in Egypt last year. It was the one thing that I specifically wanted to find, so I'm rather delighted that I was able to. It didn't come with a rattle, so I've had to add this on. So when you see the traditional Sistra, they will have kind of this like snaky pattern. So this is of the style of the Sesheshet rattle. There is also the naos rattle, which I really want to get my hands on, but they are very expensive. And to be honest, to buy these Hathorian style Sistra, they are expensive. So this is why I decided, like, I was able to buy this in Egypt and add my own rattles to it. You can, of course, come across rattles that are just like a V shape, just normal like wood in a little V. So if you find any sticks that have like, they're bifocal, is that word, bifocal? And then you can just wrap thread or strong thread or wire and just attach the jangles to it. And that is a really cheap way of creating one, and it works just as well. The whole point is the sound. It's the sound that pleases the gods. I'm sorry if that was super loud on this camera, it's hard to tell. So the whole point is that the gods love music, and this is a way of placating the gods, bringing them joy and happiness, and calming any negative forces. So just as a lot of neo-pagans will shake rattles to purify the space, to frighten away any negative energies, or ringing the bell. The use of sound is really powerful and is a major part of ancient Egyptian and contemporary Egyptian religion, Egyptian pagan religion, I should say. So when I've added these jangles, I've got 2 orange beads. They are, I think, they're not, these aren't genuine gemstones, but they represent carnelian and turquoise. That's what they're representing to me. And I think the power of colours and the principle of similarity works just as well. So carnelian is a stone for power, passion, sexuality, blood, and then turquoise is that cooling, healing effect and associated with the sky, and Hathor is associated with the sky, being a solar goddess. So we've got the sky and the burning sun there. So this is my Sistrum, and I'm delighted by it, and I really wanted to show you because it's been buried in Egypt. That's how they create this old faience-y appearance to it. So it's been in Egyptian sand, and this is very dear to me. I can't play it very musically, but what I do is when I'm at my altar, before I begin, I don't want to shake it now because it might be deafening. I will shake the rattle before the altar. I will shake the rattle between segments of a ceremony, kind of just, you know, like I would if I was doing a Wiccan ceremony, I would probably ring the bell to do that. And then when I'm just praying and giving offerings, I would offer the gods this music with my intentions, because the music may not be very delightful to the human ear. So that is my Sistrum. I'll try and upload a picture of oh, have I actually? Oh no, I can show you in this book. I'm currently reading this for potential PhD purposes, which is why I thought about doing this video at last. This is a naos Sistrum. So to compare. The basic, I mean, usually the Sistra that you'll see in the artwork is more of an elongated loop, whereas this one is more, the jangles are kept within a kind of box, like a naos shrine. While I'm here, I'm just going to see, you might not be able to see very well. These are examples of that naos Sistrum, and if I can find a good enough picture. No, you can't really see very well, but these are the more loopy kind. So there's definitely, so basically it's about having like a really open one, and then having one that's contained within a box, which is the naos shrine. So just so you can see the 2 differences, as I said, they are very expensive to buy online, and you'd be most fortunate if you had a very helpful friend who could make you one. But I have seen plenty online that have the V in a piece of wood with the rattles. And you can also buy traditional, like, Ethiopian church ones as well. Like, basically you just need a rattle. That's the whole point, is that the gods love this music. That's why I carry this one too. This is one that I got from the Africa shop in Glastonbury. So it's my rattlesnake one, and I love this because it's not going to break when I take it outside and I go wild with it. So sometimes when I care for this one, because this one is a really sacred object for me now, whereas this is a useful object for ritual purposes, it has sacred value, but this in itself is an icon of the goddess. It has her face on it, so you know, it's almost, well, it's on par with the statues, except from it has an active function that I can move with it. But that is an icon of the goddess there, whereas this is just primarily a functional thing. So I can take this out, and this will function just as well as the Sistra would if this is what you can get a hold of. I think this was probably £3 or £5. So, you know, I wanted to show you that one as well. And the fact that I mentioned the rattle of the snake, in Egypt there wasn't rattlesnakes, but the belief is this. So this is called a Sesheshet. Oh God, I can't pronounce it. A Sesheshet Sistrum, and the idea is that the rattles sound like the papyri swaying in the marshes. And then, if you're familiar with the myth of Isis and Horus in the marshes, when she's protecting him, it evokes that kind of mythological theme. So that's perhaps where the protection and those kind of associations come into it. But I enjoy this one because it does sound like a rattlesnake, which, you know, reminds me of snakes in general, and Hathor's sacred animal is the serpent. So I love hearing that serpent energy rising when I rattle this rattle for her. So that's rattles. The other important tool of Hathorian cult is the Menat necklace. Now, this is very hard to get your hands on these days, hence why I made one. Again, I had the privilege of being able to gather supplies from Egypt. So this was originally just one piece, one beaded necklace. I think I got it from Philae. They sell them everywhere in Egypt, but I'm pretty sure that if you look online on eBay or anything like that, you can probably find something similar to this. It's just loads of beads attached in one necklace. So I detached the end piece, and I basically then just threaded these beads. These are also Egyptian beads. My friend Ronnie accumulated them because she makes jewellery. And so I'm not 100% sure. I think most of them are glass, but these are definitely real carnelian. And that was really important for me, that I had some genuine gemstone there. Carnelian is deeply sacred to Hathor, being the sun goddess and the goddess of sacred sexuality, the solar plexus, the sacral chakra, I mean. Yeah, so it was really important that I had these gorgeous stones. So we just threaded these all on a piece of cord. It's not very neat because it's handmade, and that's why we got this ugly jump ring there. But it functions. It's a bit of a shame because it's such a lovely piece to have like crappy little bits like this. But it's because it's homemade, and I wasn't going to be buying a professional one anytime soon. So I'm quite proud of this. And then this this piece at the end was also from my friend Ronnie, that she gathered from Egypt. Again, it's aged faience, designed to look more authentic. I don't think the hieroglyphs really say anything. But here we are, Hathor with her horns and her Uraeus serpent, her bovine face. Oh, she's so gorgeous. And I deliberately wanted, as you can see, there's a pattern of the blue and the red. So the blue of turquoise, of the sunlight, the sky. I mean, you know, the beautiful sky that we've got today. Yes, so she is the cow goddess, the sun, or the eye of Ra. She is the solar goddess in the bright sky. So the colour blue is really sacred to her. It's also the cooling effect against the deep reds, as I've been talking about, the deep red of the sun disk. Hathor is a goddess of joy, sexuality, beauty and music, but also wrath and righteous rage. She's a warrior who transforms into her face of Sekhemet. So there is this duality about her, and then everything in between as well. And so I wanted these two colours to work with that. So with the Menat necklace then, you'll see the priestesses wearing or carrying these. It's actually worn with this at the front, and this as a counterweight at the back. Sometimes I flip it over because, you know, if I'm not trying to be too traditional but I still want to wear this, people who may be a part of the ritual might want to see the icon of Hathor first rather than these beads. This might just look like beads to them, whereas here they can see it's a piece of sacred jewellery. For me, I know that when I see this, I think Menat, but other people might not. So it depends the function of the ritual and who you're going with. And also what you're wearing, because you don't want this to get battered if it's flinging at the back. So this sits on your shoulders there, if you can imagine what that would look like. So this is a very similar function to the rattle as well, and it's something I definitely want to research more. There's lots of iconography of priestesses with their Menat necklaces, but I want to see more about how they were used and the context of them. But generally, because there's so many beads, it's hard to do one-handed. But they could also be used as a form of a rattle, and kind of like, I can't do it one-handed, but yeah, just shaking it between your hands like that, it creates this, again, this hissing sound and this rattling. And if you imagine a procession of priestesses all shaking their Menat necklaces like that, the sound will be very eerie, and there'll be this much louder hissing noise. Obviously this can be quite jangly depending on the type of metals or the beads that you choose to use. You know, you could do either, just it has to rattle, that's the point. But these, because of the nature of this type of these beads rubbing together, the sound will be less harsh than metal clanging. But yeah, just imagining a multitude of priestesses all doing this. It's a very powerful and beautiful thing. No wonder Hathor loves it. So I want to show you that. And again, this is exceptionally expensive. If you're lucky enough to find one, I would recommend trying to make one. So just finding a necklace like this. Gather up whatever beads you want to make it long enough to hang on your shoulders and drape at the back, and find some sort of heavy counterweight. You might be lucky enough to find this, but you could also just have like a relatively large goddess pendant. It would be super easy to make something like this, as it would be easy to make something like this. Alright, maybe not with the icon on it, but do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be as expensive as they're currently selling it. So when I was first trying to get into this has taken me years to accumulate. These resources weren't available to me, but actually they could have been if I had been a bit creative and thought, you know, how can I make this for myself? So don't be intimidated at thinking, oh, I can't afford £70 to buy myself a Sistrum. You could try to make it in a much cheaper way. That's why I wanted to show you this. It's not quite the same bead style, but I bought this at Philae as well. And this could also be used. It'd probably be better if it didn't have these bits, but I quite liked that this one was different for that purpose. And yeah, so I would just unclip that, attach some sort of cord, and then extend it and put like a big Isis on the bottom. So, and that's just a normal necklace. I mean, that's pretty cheap as they go. I don't think it's proper. It could be, but I don't think it is proper. I think they're more like glass beads, to be honest. So I just wanted to show you that as well, so that you can kind of get an idea of the kinds of necklaces you could obtain for that. So I think that's all I wanted to say on it. It's a very quick overview on the function and use of Sistra and Menat. There's a lot of research that goes into this. You know, there's plenty of books that you can obtain and articles that you can read about temple musicians and singers in ancient Egypt. This is something I'm very keen on. I want to learn more about. But yes, the role of temple singers and musicians in Egyptian religion was quite important. And so if you are attempting to in any way revive, reconstruct or incorporate any ancient Egyptian religious beliefs into your pagan path, obtaining a rattle of some sort would be primary, I think, for your ceremonies. Menat maybe not so much, because again, if you're rattling it, then you know it would be the same as rattling a sistrum. But I really wanted both. It was very important to me. And yeah, so it's something that doesn't have to be as extortionate as when you first go on eBay or any websites and try and find these things. You can do it much cheaper and a much simpler way. So thank you for watching this and for listening to me for about 20 minutes. I hope it was interesting and that it gives you some confidence in going out and creating these objects for yourself. So thank you for watching, and Senepti.